Welcome back to Budapest and the Hungaroring, infamous for its tight, narrow corners that force the drivers to constantly be on top form. No doubt, we're in for a great race here today. We're northeast of Budapest for the race today at the 2.7-mile Hungaroring circuit. 14 corners here, 8 to the right and 6 to the left, on a track where downforce is king and passing is notoriously difficult. Anthony Davidson joins me once again in the commentary box, and it's fantastic to have you with us here today, but I'm curious, as a man with experience out on the track, how do you stop those pre-race nerves from becoming overwhelming when you're lining up on the grid?
But from the moment qualifying's over, you start to feel the adrenaline in your body build up and the buzz in your stomach as you anticipate the run down into turn 1. It's all a bit like going into battle, and the unknown situation makes you nervous. Those pre-race nerves are a good thing. The day you don't have them means that you don't care anymore. And of course you have to make sure that all the procedures are second nature to you, so that they're not taking up too much of your capacity.
With the race minutes away from starting, here's what today's grid rundown looks like. Lewis Hamilton lines up on pole position, edging out Max Verstappen, who'll start from P2. As we continue through the rest of the grid today, we have Perez, Ricciardo, Lando Norris and Leclerc, Vettel, Sainz, Fernando Alonso and Lance Stroll, Ocon, Gasly, Yuki Tsunoda and Raikkonen, Mick Schumacher, Giovinazzi, George Russell and Nikita Mazepin. Latifi and Valtteri Bottas begins the race from the back of the grid. That's it then, it's time to go racing as we head to trackside for today's race.
Hello, Lateral here, back for another F1 2021 video, and today we are here at the Hungaroring in Budapest for a last to question mark challenge. We start in last and the goal is to win the race, although that will be quite difficult around this track, as it is quite difficult to overtake sometimes. But we'll see what happens. Now let's get straight into the video. Now getting into the race then, currently starting the formation lap, and as you can see, we'll be starting the race on the medium tire as we line up on the grid to start this race now, and it's 4 lights, 5 lights. It's lights out and let's go racing. We get a okay start, and you can see that we are already alongside Nicholas Latifi and trying to get ahead of him on the straight. Going into turn 1, we send it down the inside on the braking zone. We get ahead of Stroll, who looks to have gotten damage at turn 1, and we're now side by side with Mick Schumacher as we head into turn 2, and we're having a look around the outside of Gasly, but unable to make anything work. Still side by side with us was Mick Schumacher there, but we were able to get the position at turn 3. Going into turn 4 for the first time in this race, then straight into turn 5, and we're closing up on Gasly here on this first lap. Into turn 6, and we send a dive bomb down the inside of the chicane, which is a very difficult and uncommon spot to overtake, but we managed to get it done, and we managed to make it work. And now that's another position for us gained in this race on this first lap, up from P20 to P12 on this first lap, and it looks like that's all the positions we'll be gaining on the first lap here as we go through the third sector and through the penultimate corner now. We're close to Sainz, but not close enough to go for a move, at least not yet, as we head through the final corner. The gap is 0.4 of a second, now 0.5 of a second, as the dirty air was making it quite difficult to follow through that final corner. Heading into turn 1 now going through turn 1, and you can see we're gaining so much on the braking zones. And as we head down this straight here into turn 2, and the gap is just 0.2 of a second, so sooner or later we'll be able to go for a move here, but probably not on this lap, because you can see that we were unable to go for a move at turn 1, unable to go for a move at turn 2. We got a big snap of oversteer at turn 4, so we'll probably be stuck behind for the rest of this lap, as we can't go for a move into the chicane either, as we're not close enough. But into the S section, very difficult to follow through the S section in dirty air, especially through this right-hander right here. It's very difficult under dirty air. or following another car, simply because it is one of the most high-speed corners on the track, and the higher the speed, the more difficult it is to follow in dirty air. But we are still very close to Sainz as we head into the final corner, as Lewis Hamilton crosses the line and sets the fastest lap in the race. But heading down the straight now, DRS has now been enabled. As we head down the straight, we are using the overtake button, going down the inside of Sainz at the first corner, and we get the move done. Now using the overtake on the exit to make sure we keep the position, and we do keep the position as we head through turn 2. Now we have Tsunoda up ahead, just 4 tenths up ahead, as we actually run wide at turn 3. So that's our first warning in this race for running wide. A pretty silly mistake actually, but mainly because of dirty air. Made it quite hard to follow, and I went wide there, which is not ideal, but we have to keep pushing because we don't want any more warnings in this race, or else we'll get a penalty if we get 3 warnings. But as we head out of that little left-right S section, now into the high-speed right-hander, we were able to actually keep quite close to Tsunoda through that right-hander, which is good because now we can close up even more through the third sector, which is mostly just low-speed corners. So as we head into the final corner, we will have DRS heading onto this straight here. Now heading onto the main straight, DRS enabled, using the overtake button. Heading down the straight, we are gaining on Tsunoda, who doesn't have the DRS from the car ahead. We go around the outside of Tsunoda through turn 1. Can we keep the move? Yes, we can. Now we have DRS down the second straight as well, so we don't use much of the overtake there because we know that the DRS will allow us to keep the position. But now we have Alonso up ahead, and we have to keep pushing to get ahead of him. And you can see that as we head through the S section on lap 5 of this race, we actually run wide slightly and get our second warning, which is not ideal because one more warning and we will get a penalty. So we have to try and not get another warning here. But as we head through the third sector, we are very close to Alonso up ahead. And now exiting the penultimate corner into the final corner, we will have DRS. I think Alonso will have DRS from his teammate up ahead, Ocon. But heading down the straight, we're going to try and close in anyway. We're using the ERS. Heading into turn 1, we have a slight look down the inside, but we were not close enough to go for that move. And we get a pretty poor exit out of turn 1. So that means that we're unable to go for a move into turn 2, although we were so close, practically pushing him through the corner. Now exiting turn 3, and we got another warning there for taking too much of the curb on the inside there, and we got a penalty. So now we have a 3-second penalty in this race for track limits as we go for a move down the inside of Alonso, and we get the move done there. So now we're ahead of Alonso, and now we can try and catch up to Ocon up ahead. But as I was saying, we have a 3-second time penalty in this race for track limits, and that's not good because now we have to pull away a 3-second gap to any car behind if we actually want to keep the position, because 3 seconds will be added to our race time after the end of the race. But you can see Ocon has gone into the pits, a lot of people in the pits actually, and one of which being our teammate Lewis Hamilton, which was quite a ways ahead in this race because he did start on pole position and he didn't have to deal with overtaking all these cars that we have to deal with in this race. But heading down this straight now, we have Leclerc up ahead, who is going to make their pit stop soon, and as we cut onto lap 12, heading through the third sector, you can see we skipped quite a few laps, but now we're going to make our pit stop here as we completely mess up the pit entry. But we actually nailed the pit speed limit, so it's a bit annoying that we messed up everything else. But into the pit box, and we're going to change onto the softs to go to the end of this race. With the soft tires, we will have a lot of pace at the end of this, at the ending stages of this race here. And now we exit the pit lane, pit limiter disengaged, and it's very close to the cars up ahead. And Sebastian Vettel very close up ahead, we have managed to make the overcut work because we have gained so much time to the cars up ahead on that overcut, because Leclerc was actually quite a ways ahead before our pit stop on lap 6. But now you can see, now we're very close to Vettel, and we're going to go for a move through turn 4, one of the fastest corners on the circuit, and we get the move done there, which is crucial because now we can push on to get Leclerc for the rest of this lap, and we won't be stuck behind Vettel for the rest of this lap. So that's good because we can keep pushing, and we have to keep in mind that we still have this penalty, so we really have to maximize the advantage of the soft tires before that advantage runs out as the soft tires die away in the closing stages of this race. But heading through the third sector now, we're practically pushing Leclerc through the penultimate corner, and as we head into the final corner, we're very close to Leclerc up ahead, and we get very nice rotation through the final corner, and you can see that we gained so much on the straight with DRS, and we get the move done on the straight on Charles Leclerc. And now we have Lando Norris up ahead, who we can definitely catch, but the question is, can we pull out a 3-second gap to Lando Norris? You can see as we end off lap 14, we set the fastest lap, and now we're going for a move on Lando Norris. We go to the outside for turn 1 and into the braking and third gear through the corner, and we get the move done as we now have DRS down the second straight into turn 2, and we're able to keep the position. Now we have to go maximum push on these last few laps as if we're setting qualifying laps, because it's going to be difficult to pull out 3 seconds from Lando Norris behind, and it'll be even more difficult to do it on Daniel Ricciardo, who, as you can see as we start lap 16 of this race heading through turn 1, we have caught up to Daniel Ricciardo. We're going to try and go for a move down the second straight, but we weren't able to close in. We weren't close enough there, but you can see how close we are. Heading through turn 3, we're going to use the overtake. Can we go for a move into turn 4? And no, we cannot. And instead of going for a move, we lose so much time because we were practically pushing Ricciardo through the corner there. And this is not good, because if we were just a little bit closer, we could have gone for the move and been in clean air for the rest of this lap. But instead, we're stuck behind Ricciardo, and we'll probably have to wait for the next lap before we can overtake. Now, heading into the third sector, you can see on the delta plus 1.1 seconds. It just shows how much time we've lost stuck behind Ricciardo. The gap behind is 1.9 seconds to Lando Norris as we head through the final corner now. Heading onto the main straight, this is where we'll try to get the move done, as we're much closer than we were on the previous lap. We go to the outside as Ricciardo goes defensive. Heading into turn 1, we leave just enough room for Ricciardo on the inside. Now we are ahead, and these last 2 laps have to be as much pushing as possible. Maximum pace that we can get out of the car and out of the tires here, because it's going to be quite close with both Norris and Ricciardo. And as we cut onto the end of that same lap, you can see we nearly matched the fastest lap of this race, just half a tenth off of our fastest lap, which is the fastest lap of the race here. Now as we exit turn 1, using the little overtake that we have left, we don't have much battery left. You can see just 9%, 10% here, and it's going to keep going down as we're going to use it here, but we get a big snap of oversteer as the tires are starting to go off now as we head through turn 4. We're going to be losing some of the pace that we had earlier in this stint, which is not good for us because we won't be able to gain as much time as we were before. And you can see as we cut onto the end of that same lap and the end of that race, the gap to Ricciardo is 2 seconds as we head out of the penultimate corner into the final corner, through the final corner now. It is not enough. The checkered flag waves. It will be P5 with that penalty, but still not bad.
It's victory in Budapest then, and what a victory it is after an incredible Grand Prix. Anthony Davidson, what helped them deliver this result, do you think?
Well, they certainly stood out as a driver with tons of confidence on the track. I think their ability to keep their cool, even during some of the more hectic parts of the race, meant they were able to capitalise on the mistakes of other drivers, giving them the opportunity to make their way to the top spot with ease.
Mercedes are on top form once again after an excellent race weekend. It's great to see them up on that podium once again.
Well, here are the race results then, and as you can see, Lewis Hamilton won the race from pole position, and we ended up P5 in the end from last on the grid. It could have been P4 without that penalty, but still a decent result. But that's going to be it for this video. If you did enjoy it, make sure to leave a like and subscribe. Thank you all so much for watching this video, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.